who was going to a denied area. A denied area is a place where CIA people just can't go, right? But he looked kind of ethnic and he could fit into, you know, whatever, the culture. And so I said, buddy, aren't you afraid of like being kidnapped and then we just never see you again? And he said, yeah, they offered to implant a chip, a beacon, a ping in my butt crack, he says. And I said, nah, leave my butt crack alone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. I think that should be our national anthem. How weary do people have to be of being spied upon today? Do you think like there's a lot of these new like data center projects and stuff like that's going on with that? First, let's talk, real quick about the data centers. What do you think is really going on? Because if you look at the size of these places, like we don't need that much data. Like we're already using our phones. We already have like televisions, like you know, there's already like a lot of stuff being stored on servers. How are we jumping to a level where we need that? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I have to agree. And besides the fact that they use massive amounts of water, and oddly enough, they're located in a lot of states that don't have a ton of water, like Texas.
Yeah.
Or you go out to Loudoun County, Virginia. Okay, we have enough water. But Loudoun County, Virginia, you drive for miles and miles, and they're just these never-ending, gigantic complexes of data centers.
The proposed Stratos project in Utah is a massive 40,000
There's no water in Utah.
A 40,000 acre AI data center campus.
2.5 times larger than Manhattan.
Yeah. I wonder how long the actual data, how big
and just the data center requires more than double the current energy consumption of the entire state of Utah.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, that's unbelievable. What do you think's really going on there? Do you have any intel about it?
You have to assume that this is Intel related because look at the companies that are involved. We're talking about Palantir and NVIDIA and Abraxas and all these big companies that either took CIA investments to get started as seed money or are staffed by retired senior CIA officers. They're not doing it for their health.
Why is so is the CIA now is spying on our own people?
Oh yeah, that's what Ed Snowden warned us about. Yeah, without Ed Snowden's revelations, we wouldn't have any idea that NSA and CIA were spying on Americans, which is not just illegal, it's a part of NSA's charter that it may not spy on Americans. And this place in Utah, he and Julian Assange told us about Utah. This new compound in Utah that NSA has built has enough memory, storage space for every phone call, every email, and every text message from every American for the next 500 years.
Wow.
Why?
Just that building? Then why do they need all these buildings?
Yeah, why? They're everywhere. What are they collecting?
I'm not sure. And that's the thing. It's like it's got to be all of our information. What would you do right now? Is there any way that people can protect themselves? Do you know?
It's almost impossible now. I wrote a series of books during COVID for Skyhorse Publishing, the CIA Insider's Guides to Surveillance and Surveillance Detection, Lying and Lie Detection, and Disappearing and Living Off the Grid. They put them together, and they're republishing them in the next month, I guess, as one volume, CIA Skills, Tactics, and the Ultimate Guide to CIA Skills, Tactics, and Techniques.
There we go.
But when it comes to protecting yourself from the data state, you got to go Eric Rudolph or Unabomber and just own no technology at all. It's the only way to protect yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be scooped up in all this. Now, the odd thing is, according to Ed Snowden, NSA, CIA, other governmental organizations are scooping up all this data and they're just holding it. Why? Why are they holding it? Now, time was really until the immediate post 9/11 period, where if the government wanted your information, they had to go to a federal judge and say, we want Theo Von's information, and this is the reason we want it. And the judge had to say, okay, that's a legitimate reason, I'll sign the warrant. Now, they just write something called a national security letter. They give it to your provider, and they say, give us everything you have on Theo Von, and they just turn it over. Or they go to these new data centers, and just put your name in, your information, and everything pops up. You don't have any legal protections. They just take whatever they want.
And that's legal now? They can do that?
And it's legal now.
How'd that become legal?
In the National Defense Act of 2016. National Defense Authorization Act of 2016.
Wow.
Yeah. Which also, this is a pet peeve of mine that nobody knows about. It also, for the first time in American history, allowed the American government to propagandize the American people. It was always illegal for our government to propagandize us.
What does it mean?
Well, for example, the Voice of America, that's our government's propaganda news outlet. And we beam it overseas so everybody gets the official U.S. point of view. Okay. Back in the 80s, the Reagan administration came up with these two broadcasters called Radio Marti and TV Marti to beam at Cuba. And the Cubans try to jam them all the time, but what they mostly are used for is to broadcast baseball games in Spanish, which the Cubans love.
Got it.
I flew down to Cuba to do a study. I did a study for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee when I was the chief investigator there. And nobody watches TV Marti. You can only actually get it in the waiting room of the U.S. consulate.
Got it.
So if you're there to apply for a visa, you can watch a soap opera in Spanish that's American propaganda. Nobody cares. The radio, people like listening to baseball. So Dish Network, when it began selling services in Florida, found that there was this just narrow swath along the shore on the west coast of Florida where you could pick up TV Marti. That's illegal. You can't propagandize the American people.
Got it.
As Americans, we're not allowed to watch our own government's propaganda. So instead of telling Dish Network, well, you're going to have to like move your satellite or do something or pixelate it or whatever, said, no, we'll change the law. And so in the National Defense Authorization Act of 2016, the Obama administration said, no, we can propagandize Americans now.
Wow.
And so now radio, TV are no problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're always propagandizing. I mean, people put out propaganda all the time.
Yeah. I went to Yemen in 2011 when I was with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, my 5th trip to Yemen. Every time I'd go to Yemen, it's worse than the previous time. So I have a meeting with the defense attaché, and he was so proud of this thing that he was doing, this PSYOP. I hate that word. PSYOP. I said, sure, what's your PSYOP? And he goes, we're funding a radio station here modeled on NPR, and it plays American jazz. And then it has a call-in show so young Yemeni guys can call in and talk about the jazz. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's a terrible idea. Nobody's going to listen to that. And nobody did. And they shut it down after a year. But that's what we're doing?
But what was the goal of it even?
To make people pro-American, because they would be like, oh, Americans have jazz.
Oh, I see.
So I'm going to be pro-American now. It's like, what are you thinking? You sit there
That sounds like money laundering.
Yeah, seriously.
That's what it sounds like. How do I know I can believe you about anything, kind of? People ask you that all the time?
Oh, yeah. People ask me all the time.
Because who would believe anybody that is ex-CIA? Who would even, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's such a thing with me. You know, generally, I don't read the chats anywhere, right? Everybody I talk to at your level, you, Tucker Carlson, you know, Patrick Bet David, Rogan, whomever, they never read the chats. Sometimes I can't help it, and I'll scan them. The only time I ever respond is when people say, once CIA, always CIA.
Yeah.
Like, moron, you thought of all of that all up on your own.
Yeah,
huh?
that's true.
So I said to one guy, I said, you know what, let me call Ed Snowden and the sons of Philip Agee and Ray McGovern and tell them that you think they're all still in the CIA. So I went to prison for telling the truth. And
that's a good point.
I would do it again in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Nobody else has gone to prison for ratting out the CIA and its illegal, programs. I was proud to do it.
That's a good answer.
Thank you.
It's a really good answer. If you look at here it is, I can say this: if you really went to jail and everything, then it's a great answer. And if you didn't, I believe you. But also, there's a little part of me that's like, if he didn't, then that's fucking even colder. That he's making it up and living it. That's the most CIA shit.
That would be pretty intense.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, nobody in the world hates me as much as my ex-wife does.
From spending all that time in the CIA or in jail. At least jail, you have a good excuse.
Came after, but she came every month with the kids and visited me in jail for 2 years. Yeah.
And so why does she hate you then?
Oh no, that's all. Yeah, post
story.
Yeah, I'm actually prohibited by court order from answering that question.
Got it. Well, I think that's amazing that she did that and brought your kids to do it.
She was great. She was great.
A lot of wives. I mean, I think I can't even imagine it's a tough thing for families, especially if you had young children. Kudos to her for that.
Yeah.
Was being in prison kind of fun?
Fun. No, I wouldn't say fun.
Like, what was kind of cool about it? I've always wanted to go to jail.
You know, there's this old saying that you don't go to jail to make friends. And I made some lifelong friends in jail. Mostly named Gambino, Lucchese, Bonanno,
Okay.
Genovese.
So a lot of good storytellers in there, I bet.
Listen, those guys were so honorable. I learned so much from those guys in just 23 months.
Wow.
Lessons I'll carry with me forever. Real honor. It's funny, the Italians were the smallest. They call them gangs in prison. The Italians weren't a gang. I'll use the word gang just for the purpose of this response. They were the smallest gang in the prison, yet commanded the highest level of respect.
Really? More than the blacks and the Latinos?
The blacks and the Latinos were always at each other's throats, and they had, like, for example, it was Crips and Bloods, and there was this uneasy peace between them just because it's not worth upsetting the apple cart. And everybody goes to solitary and then gets spread out all over the country. For the Latinos, it was far more complicated because it was burachos, norteños, Latin kings, MS-13, the Mexican mafia, and then the individual cartels. So overall, there's one gigantic Hispanic prison gang called Pisces. And then within Pisces are all the different divisions.
Gosh.
Yeah, and the Pisces, if you were Hispanic, you were automatically in Pisces whether you liked it or not. And you had to work out every single day.
Oh, that's pretty good.
For the coming race war with the blacks. Right. And the whites are like, we have nothing to do with this.
Yeah. I would just want to do it just to get in shape. But
Yeah.
sometimes you need motivation.
We had Aryan Brotherhood.
What's that? What are they doing? What are they up to?
You know, Aryan Brotherhood of Texas is far more violent than Aryan Brotherhood. And they're not, it says right there, they're not connected. I never met anybody from the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas. Aryan Brotherhood at a low security prison just wants to sort of, go along to get along.
Yeah.
Yeah. You stay out of my way. I'll stay out of yours. My very first day in prison, my very first hour in prison, when the guard dropped me off in my cell, the only thing he said to me the whole time I was, checking in and getting processed was, if somebody comes into your cell uninvited, that's an act of aggression. And I said, great, thank you. I've been here 40 minutes. I'm going to get my ass kicked now. Sure enough, as soon as he left, these two guys walked into my cell, just walked right in. One of them had a swastika that took up his entire neck and then came up onto his face. And the other one had "fuck you" tattooed on his eyelids.
Oh, yeah. That check. I mean, that's,
And so I jump up. I go, what do you want? Because I thought, if I'm going down, I'm taking one of them down with me at least. What do you want? And the one with the swastika, he says, "You the new guy?" I go, "Yeah, so?"
This sounds like a story from like the 1940s,
Isn't
John.
it awful?
It was sound real,
I said in my second book, prison is a combination of 7th grade, The Lord of the Flies, and a mental institution.
Amen.
And it's set in the 1950s.
That's hilarious.
So I go, "What do you want?" He goes, "You the new guy?" I said, "Yeah, so?" And he goes, I'm standing there like this. He goes, "You a f***?" And I go, "No, I'm not a f***." He says,
And they were bummed out?
"You a rat?" No gays allowed. "You a rat?" And I said, "No, I'm not a rat." "You a chomo?" I go, "I don't know what that word means." He goes, "Chomo, child molester." I said, "No, I'm not a child molester."
That's good.
And then he says, "You can sit with the Aryans in the cafeteria." And I was like, "Oh, well, I guess I'm with the Aryans now." But then a couple of months later,
simple rules.
I was across the hall from a captain in the Bonanno family. And he said to me one day, he goes, "Let me ask you a question. Why do you sit with those Nazi retards every day?" And I said, I don't know. I said, "My first day here, they just told me to sit with them." And he goes, "From today, you are with the Italians." And I said, "It's about time."
That was it, yeah.
Took you long enough.
You got drafted.
Yeah. But they were the best.
Yeah, but a lot of good stories, dude. Any good story come to mind from somebody like a good story you heard in prison?
Yeah, there's one. You're going to think less of me, and I don't care.
That's fine. I could tell you some stuff. That would probably make it even.
There was a guy in my housing unit who was a serial killer. He was called Truck because he drove long distance trucks from the East Coast to the West Coast. He would pick up prostitutes at truck stops, and he would rape them and murder them, drive them a couple of 100 miles down the highway, and then dump the bodies out. So the cops estimated that he killed 14. It was probably more than that. But he strangled one and she survived. And she was able to give the cops the license number. Now, this was in the days before DNA testing. So This guy,
before DNA testing.
yeah, this was in the 70s.
Oh, he'd been in for a long time.
He was doing life.
Got it.
So, for reasons that were never clear to me, this guy constantly sought my approval. He was full of shit. He would come up, he had the worst breath because he had just these blackened, rotten nubs where that used to be his teeth. And he was saying,
That makes my fucking dick soft, dude.
It was awful, awful. He goes, you CIA? And I said, yeah, I used to be. He goes, I did work for the CIA. I ran a shrimp boat full of weapons to Angola. I go, get the fuck out of here. I didn't know he was a serial killer. I go, get the fuck out of here. Shrimp boat to Angola. Have you ever been on a shrimp boat? And I walked away. People are looking at me like, are you crazy? Do you know who that is? Well, I didn't know who it was. So instead of making him mad, it just made him more actively seek my approval. So I'm a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Oh, yeah.
And he would say, hey, John, the Steelers are the featured game of the week. I saved you a seat in the TV room. I'm like, thanks, Truck. I'm like, okay. John, I know you listen to classic rock. There's a new classic rock station, 1600 AM. You should check it out. I'm like, okay, thanks, Truck. In the meantime, there's this guy we called Cat in the Hat because he had this oddly elongated head, like a birth defect, kind of giant Cat in the Hat head. And he comes up to me one day and he said, hey, I heard you had an empty bunk in your cell. I want to move into your cell. I heard it's a good cell. And I said, well, not so fast, buddy. I said, we don't allow any pedophiles in our cell and no rats. I said, what's your crime? He goes, murder for hire.
And no
I don't even care about that.
Yeah.
But the other guy, I can't speak for the other guys.
Yeah, I was trying to be a part of the group, you know? Like, go on.
So he says, in murder for hire. I said, I don't think I like that any better than the pedophiles or the rats. What were the circumstances? And he said, I owed the mob a lot of money, $100,000 in gambling. I couldn't pay it. So I took out a life insurance policy on my business partner and I hired a hitman to kill him. And the hitman got caught. I said, let me think about it. Well, think about it. I went straight to the law library and I looked up his case. And that wasn't it at all. It was true. He owed the mob $100,000. He took out the life insurance policy. He hired the hitman. He got caught because of course he's going to get caught. Where's the first place the cops are going to go?
Where the money went.
And he ratted out the hitman so that he wouldn't get the federal death penalty. Instead, he got 20 years. Oh. So I said, no rats in the room. So he was mad at me. Anyway, one day, Jake Tapper comes up to the prison to interview me. And I get called down to the lieutenant's office. Normally, if you're called down to the lieutenant's office, it's to go to solitary. If you come back, usually it's because you ratted somebody out. Well, I went down there to sign the waiver so I could give Jake Tapper the interview. So I'm sitting in the TV room next to Truck. Truck was very, very sensitive about being called a chomo because that girl that he strangled was 16, which technically made him a chomo. Right? So Truck's sitting here, I'm sitting here. Right here is Cat in the Hat with his back toward me. He's on the computer. There's like this internal email system. He doesn't see me. I'm sitting 18 inches away from him. And then he says to the guy next to him, do you hear? Kiriakou got called down to the lieutenant's office. He goes, that guy's a fucking rat. He went down there to rat us out. And I just sat there watching the game. And then Truck says, that fucking guy just called you a rat. And I said, an hour ago, I heard him call you a chomo, which was a total lie. I just made it up. He didn't say a single word. He just stood up, walked over here, and beat this guy almost to death. They had to land a helicopter in the yard to life flight Cat in the Hat to Pittsburgh. They gave Truck 5 more years. And
Cat Scan in the Hat, huh?
Yeah, it's Cat Scan in the Hat. See, now how come I didn't think of that? Because I'm not a comedian. I should have put that in my book.
I don't know. Is there any real value in me thinking of that? That's a good question. I don't know.
6 weeks later, Cat in the Hat is finally released from the hospital. He comes. He's all fucked up still. And he's like this. Somebody had told him what had happened. He goes, I wanted to say I'm sorry for calling you a rat. I should never have said that. And everybody stops to look to see what I'm going to say. Well, what am I going to say? Forget it. It's all water under the bridge. I go, listen, look at me. Look at me. And he lifts his head up. And I said, so help me God, if I ever hear my name cross your lips ever again, you're dead. And they won't even find you. Oh, I'm sorry. So everybody's like, the CIA guy's tough after all. But I said in the book, one of my rules that I learned at the CIA, let others do your dirty work. And then I get called down to the lieutenant's office again. Because as he's beating him, I sat back down and I'm watching the game. Everybody else runs. As soon as there's a fight, everybody just runs like cockroaches.
That's insane though, man.
Right? So I'm watching the game. Kiriakou, lieutenant's office, immediately. They always do it the same way. It's like they're caricatures of themselves. Mm-hmm. So I go down there, and the one of the lieutenants, there are two of them, and he says, "So tell us about this fight." I go, "What fight? What fight? You're going to be a smart guy now." I said, "I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. The fight. We had 4 cameras showing you saying something to that crazy person, and then he got up and beat the other guy." I said, "I was watching the Steelers game. I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, you're not going to tell us about the fight?" I said, "You know what? Maybe I will tell you about the fight. Maybe it was you that started the fight. Did you ever think of that? Maybe it wasn't me. I was an innocent bystander. Maybe you put them up to fight each other. I think I might make a complaint against you." He goes, "Get the fuck out of my office." And I wrote in my book, rule number 1, admit nothing, deny everything, make counter accusations. And as I was walking out, I just said, exactly.
Dang, bro. I don't even know what to think anymore.
You know, I figured
sometimes that's where you get people to that point. You're like this, you know.
They pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. And at sentencing, the judge sentenced me to a minimum security work camp. And the CIA was furious that I got such a light sentence and I was going to a minimum security camp. So the CIA intervened to send me to a low security prison, which is an actual prison with the double
Why'd they
walls.
do that?
They were furious that
the CIA was?
When I was first charged, I mean, this is a potential death penalty case. 3 counts of espionage for talking to ABC News and the New York Times.
Because you were talking to him about torture, right? Mm-hmm. What cases specifically were you talking to him about?
Abu Zubaydah. Mm-hmm. And they were furious because nobody had ever confirmed that there was a torture program. And I said it was illegal. Besides being immoral and unethical, it's illegal. You want to torture people, God bless, but you got to change the law first. Right. We're a nation of laws.
Which countries do you think had the toughest torture programs over the years? Or do you even know?
Over the years, like let's go back 100 years. The Chinese, the Vietnamese, and the Belgians. The Belgians, if you can imagine, the horrors that they perpetrated in Congo of epic proportions. The Russians, the Iranians, the Israelis, the United States.
Is it weird? Like, 'cause we talk about the term terrorism now, but it's like, it definitely feels like when we talked about it a little bit earlier, it's like, it feels sometimes it's like, how much is America like a terrorist state in the world? And I hate to say that because this is the country that we live in.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think at a certain point, if you use it, you know, I don't know, you know, it's got to be hard to figure that out. But it's like, you know, it's like, when do you use like fear tactics and that sort of thing to make sure that everything's okay, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It's like, here's my question. Do you think it's possible for America to get to a place where we're an actual peacekeeper, or do you think it's possible to keep peace without terror? Does it make any sense or not?
Yeah, that's a hard question.
Good.
You know, and I think my answer has changed over the years. I believed for a very long time that we were the good guys. I was a true believer. That's why I worked there. We were the good guys.
And I think as people, we still are. As citizens, we still are.
Agreed. We still are. Somebody commented on a Facebook post that I made the other day. Like, I heard you say that the United States is the best country in the world. You should be ashamed of yourself. I was like, I believe that the United States is the best country in the world. That's why I live here. Yeah. I could go live in some other country if I wanted to, but this is the best country in the world. We have problems. Every country has problems. But the reason why I'm as active and as vocal as I am is because I want to change the things that I disagree with. I don't think we should be a nation that tortures people or murders people without trial. If somebody is a clear and present danger, which is the language that's used in the amendment to 12333, okay. Clear and present danger. They're getting ready to, deliver the dirty bomb or, whatever. Okay. Sometimes we have to work in the shadows. Awful, but it's a fact of life. But if you just send teams around the world to kill people whose politics you don't like, people who have never been charged with a crime, then shame on us. That's not what the founding fathers gave us. So if you want to torture people, you got to change the law. Ronald Reagan said, we were a shining city on a hill, right? We're a beacon of hope for human rights and civil liberties. That's the country I want to be.
Same. That's what most people want to be.
Exactly.
Do you think we can get back to that place, or what do you think?
I think it's possible.
You do?
I think it's going to take a very long time, but I think it's possible. And I think we have to start by trying to snap out of this mindset that we have to be the world's policeman.
Yeah.
Like, why? I have relatives in Greece and friends all over Europe, and they ask me the same question all the time. Why are you guys doing this? Like, did we really need to overthrow Libya? Gaddafi, rather, in Libya? Of course
I think
not.
a lot of people don't know what's going on. They just want their families to be okay. They don't want data centers. A lot of people do not want AI. They don't give a shit about it. It's not going to benefit them.
I'm genuinely frightened.
Oh, the Pope is frightened. I'm trying to get the Pope to come and I offered that I would go to the Vatican and talk with the Pope. I just want to
wonderful.
I want to learn about what he thinks.
Yeah. The Archbishop of the Greek Orthodox Church just issued an encyclical 100% supporting everything the Pope said on this.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it would be a blessing to get to talk with him and just learn. I just want to be able to share a message, be a part of not me share it, but just be just part of the telephone game of helping or being a part of the message getting out if I can.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's important. We don't want that. Nobody wants it. 30 people want it. 100 people want it with a lot of power.
Exactly.
We don't want it.
Exactly. Yes.
Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it.
Yeah, there it is right
Nobody
there.
wants
His
it.
encyclical.
Yeah, I read about this. I've read part of the Pope's, but I haven't seen this new one. This is from the Orthodox Church.
Yeah, the Greek Orthodox Archbishop, it's Elpidophoros, his name, endorsing everything the Pope said about AI.
You have a new podcast. Thanks, Sean, for hanging out. Sorry if I haven't had the best questions at certain points.
No, your questions were great, and they cut right to the heart of things.
Trying to get my brain back on track a little bit. It's just been a long month. But before you do leave, I know you have a podcast that you're starting your own. Finally, thank you.
Finally,
because
thank you.
You've been on all of them, so you have to start your own. And it's
I'm
called
excited.
The Briefing Room.
Yeah, John Kiriakou's Briefing Room.
John Kiriakou's Briefing Room.
We're going to launch it in about 4 weeks. If you go to Real John Kiriakou on YouTube, it'll pop up saying coming soon. Please, please, please subscribe. And I have another one too called John Kiriakou's Dead Drop that's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's just story after story after story. And it's been actually very popular. Been very lucky. We've gone up to number 5 in the history category worldwide.
Oh, it's exciting.
It's really, very exciting.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. I mean, that's one thing that we also have to remember is sure, things seem this way and that way, but also it isn't if you can see excitement as being of all things and not just things that seem positive, but things that could seem to be decided, then there is a lot of excitement. And so that's a nice way to think about things.
Agreed.
And this your book, The Ultimate Guide to CIA Skills, Tactics, and Techniques.
Yep.
Is there a basic one you can give us out of the book, man? That's just something that you can notice about people?
The part that I'm proudest of in this book is the section on surveillance and surveillance detection. I took it so seriously that I actually became a surveillance instructor at the CIA for the last 2 years that I was at headquarters. I'll tell you something that happened to me when I was in Pakistan. I was always very, very, very careful about my own personal security. And I noticed one day, I was staying at a guest house, a little 14-room guest house. And I noticed one day there's a guy in a motorcycle. He's trying really hard to stay in my blind spot. And the only reason I even noticed him was he had a red motorcycle helmet on. And nobody in Pakistan wore motorcycle helmets. I don't even know where you would buy a motorcycle helmet. So I was like, that's funny. I speed up, he speeds up. I slow down, he slows down. I change lanes, he changes lanes. I'm like, this isn't good. I get to the entrance to the diplomatic quarter, which was the part of town where all the embassies were, and he breaks off. Well, I work 14, 15, 16 hours every single day. I get to work when it's dark. I leave work when it's dark. And so I pull out of the diplomatic quarter, and the guy's on me again. And I was like, this is definitely not good. I was worried about it all night. So the next morning I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm taking a different route to work every day. I'm leaving at a different time every day. My routes to work don't make any sense just to make sure I'm not being followed. And now twice I am being followed. There's a definition of surveillance at the CIA. It's multiple sightings at time and distance. So you see the person more than once at different times of the day and at different places. So we have a database. So I put in the database when I first arrived. I think I'm under surveillance. It's a motorcycle. Here's the license number. This is a description of the guy. He's wearing a red helmet. Next day, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I just open the door a crack. I look up and down the street. I don't see anybody. So they had assigned us these poles, these retracting poles with a mirror on the bottom. So I look under my car. I don't see any explosives or tracking devices or anything. So you got to be careful, you know? So I get in the car, I go like 2 blocks and the guy's on me again. So I finally get to the office and I waited for the security officer to come in. And I said, listen, I'm under surveillance. I'm 100% sure I'm under surveillance. I told him about the 3 sightings. He's like, ooh, this isn't good. I said, I know. He said, we have to wait until the chief comes in. So finally the chief comes in around 7. And I said, I'm under surveillance, 100% certain. So I explained to him the 3 different sightings. And he's like, well, you know what you have to do. And I said, I know. He goes, you never popped your cherry that way, did you?
Let's shoot somebody?
And I said, nope, never needed to. He's like, well, we're gonna have teams out there. Don't worry. We're gonna have guys all around you. You're not gonna be alone. I'm like, okay, all right. I was very worried. So I get back to my office. My office, it was me. I was the only staff officer and 6 retirees who had all been in the senior intelligence service. Every one of the 6 had either been the chief or deputy chief of Near Eastern operations. One had been the assistant deputy director of the CIA, but they all came back after 9/11 for patriotic reasons. But if you're a contractor, you can't be the chief. So they all worked for me, right? And word got around, they're like, don't worry, buddy. We're all going to be out there. Don't worry about a thing. I'm like, I'm very worried. That afternoon, I have a meeting at a safe house that we shared with the Pakistani intelligence service. We interrogated a prisoner. And I get up to leave, and I don't know what possessed me to stop. And I turned and I said, General Muhammad, are you following me? And he says, no, why? I said, because I'm under surveillance. I'm 100% sure that I'm under surveillance, and I'm going to kill the guy this afternoon. And he's like, no, it's not us. I never saw him again. So weeks later, we heard that a bunch of them were sitting around the table, and one of them said, the new guy, Kiriakou, he's a nice guy. And everybody's like, yeah, he's a very nice guy. And then one of them said, you know what? Nobody's that nice. He's probably being nice just to trick us into a sense of complacency. We don't know what he's doing when he's not here. He's probably spying on us. I wasn't. But they put the worst surveillance officer in the entire Pakistani intelligence service on me. So instead of 2 blocks back, he's right there in my blind spot. And it was only because I stopped before I got to the door that afternoon and asked General Muhammad if they were following me. That's the only reason that guy's not in the ground today. I was going to kill him that afternoon.
Were you?
Oh, yes, I was.
Dang, John, about
Because
to pop off,
I was convinced he was going to kill me.
That big guy. That's crazy, bro. Dang, dude. I think everybody wants to shoot somebody. But they don't let you.
I worked with a guy, great friend, go to the same church, we're in the same men's group.
They don't let you.
And he's a psychiatrist. Sorry, you made me laugh. He's a psychiatrist. And he said to me, I find it fascinating that you don't have PTSD. And I said, is that good or bad? And he said, from a psychiatric point of view? And I said, yeah. He goes, not good. I said, I wasn't afraid of those people, Steve. I was not afraid of them.
Yeah, it is interesting, man. The things that we hold, what's going on inside of us, you know, how it comes out, what gets figured out, you know.
You just never know. You never know what's going to bother you. You never know what's going to stick in your mind and bother you and fester for years. It happens.
Yeah. The stories, man. Ain't about just making a story, you know. I mean, you seem like a kind of guy that likes to make a story, you know.
I like telling these stories. And people say,
and living a story, though. I mean.
Oh, yeah. Oh, listen, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have these stories in my past. I'd be like, oh, my God. My first wife, she's like, I want to move back to Ohio, and I want you to sell car insurance with my cousin Dean. I said, I would rather cut my throat than move to Ohio and sell insurance with your cousin Dean.
I'd rather join the Aryan Brotherhood in prison.
Seriously.
And you did.
And I did.
So I take a look. Insurance next time.
Yeah, next life. No,
John, tell
you.
your son I said what's up that you mentioned on the way in.
Thank you, Max.